Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Lawyer/police of Reddit. What is the worst way you've seen someone incriminate him/herself when they were actually innocent? My cousin was at his older brother's college party and it got so rowdy that the police came to break it up. The music is off and they've rounded everyone up and the cop asks, "Okay, who here has been drinking underage?" He raises his hand without hesitation. He was the only one. I'm a law student and a professor told us today about her worst one from when she worked as a public defender. Apparently, a convicted felon was riding his motorcycle when he saw a cop issuing a traffic ticket to someone else on the side of the road. He pulled over his motorcycle, walked up to the cop, and said, "Excuse me, officer, I'm a convicted felon and have heroin in my pocket." As his public defender, she asked him why the H he would ever do that. His answer? Well, he was going to catch me eventually. Not a lawyer/cop. We got pulled over about 2 weeks ago for being in the wrong lane. It was like midnight, we were tired, and on the highway, different state. We're doing like 75 and a 70, saw what seemed to be a cop, slowed to 70, we're still in left lane. O, officer, F, fiance, M, me. O, do you know why you got pulled over? F, no. O, you were in the left lane. F, oh, sorry. O, can I have your license and registration? F, hand license while I fumble through glove compartment. O, I'll be right back, left without registration. 5 minutes, officer comes back. O, here's your license. F, registration, hands. O, briefly looks over registration. Where are you coming from? Me, town. O, going? Me, town hotel on Y Street. O, alright, here it sounds silly, but you can't drive in the left lane unless you're passing. Have a good night. Short, sweet, to the point. He followed us for like 15 minutes after that. Fiance guesses that it was because we were from out of state on the highway that late, and he might have thought we were somewhat shady. My roommate stole 2 TVs and a bunch of equipment totaling $14,000 from Best Buy when I worked there. I was loss prevention. I see him walking out, tell him, "See you at home," and he goes on his merry way. I had no clue he was stealing. He had just come into a decent $80,000-ish inheritance, so I had no reason to believe he might. I get home that night, he tells me he stole it. Next morning, I'm standing outside the doors waiting for the opening manager at 0600. I tell the manager what happened, where I live, and my roommate's name. Manager brings me into the office to write a statement. 10 minutes later, cops show up and the manager says he coached the guy on what to do and just got scared that he would be caught. Arrest him too. Cops place me under arrest, although the arresting officer told me in private she didn't really believe I was in on it, but it did look bad. Take me to my house to collect the evidence. Roommate discovers I ratted him out, 4 cops pounding on the door with me behind them while telling them, "Guys, I gave you permission to enter. I live here too. We'll do that." Roommate then proceeds to tell officers it was all my idea and he didn't want to, but I told him I would get him evicted if he didn't do it. Expensive lawyer hired. Lawyer tells me if you had never reported him even with you letting him walk out on camera, they never could have touched you. Lawyer says if I want to fight the charges, he'll defend me, but my roommate was saying I was involved and odds were 50-50 at best if we went to trial. I tell him I plan on going to trial, but if the DA comes back with a plea to misdemeanor with no jail time, we'll take it. DA wanted to take a hard line and kept offering plea to felony theft and I'll only get 180 days in jail. Kept saying no and my lawyer agreed, said take it to trial if they won't offer no jail time. Eventually they came back with 2 years suspended and conviction will be set aside after 2 years of probation, but still a felony. Took it as the conviction dropped after 2 years. Still prevents me from obtaining a security clearance, but that's all. Grand total, 2 years probation, $6,500 in lawyer fees, and realistically about 4 years setback in my life as a whole. All because I tried to do the right thing. Upside. Now I'm the second youngest salaried manager in my company and just got informed I'll be promoted in the next few months. Because every time I tell this story, people call me crazy for copping a plea to something I wasn't guilty of. If I had gone to trial and been found guilty, I was facing up to 10 years in jail. Unlikely it would be so hard, but it was a risk I was willing to take. I think this actually meets the criteria. When I was in college, there was an off-campus location that everyone went to go drink/party, and you had to walk along this long winding path through the woods to get there. So we're all walking along in a large group of people, and halfway there, we turn around a corner and there are two cops standing right there. I have a beer in my hand, everyone drinks and walks to the spot, and being a younger looking guy, they pull me aside from the group. One cop asked me, "Are you 21? I said yes, thinking I'm at least 21 years of age, but then immediately said after, "Well, no." He looked at me as if he was going to arrest me on the spot, and then I continued, "Actually, I'm 22. That was kinda dumb of me, but he just asked me to dump my beer out and sent me on my way. The end. I've never had someone innocent incriminate themselves. However, I did arrest the wrong guy once. There was a fight at a bar and the suspect was described as a white male, late 20s, about 5'10", 180 pounds, with medium-length brown hair, wearing a white t-shirt, jeans, and green Celtics jersey with the number 23 on the back. I just so happen to be driving by as the call comes out and see someone running across the street that perfectly matches the description. The victim positively IDs the suspect and he gets arrested. The suspect says it wasn't him, which is what everybody says, but this guy actually seemed believable and was very pleasant. The next day, I get some video of the suspect and can immediately tell that the suspect was not the same guy that I arrested. I had the DA drop the case and called the guy to apologize. I'm neither, but I had a friend in high school who got into an accident, no one was injured, where she totaled her car and ripped up the back of a truck decently. Her parents got her a new junker car and her license was suspended for a month. Be it all, she was determined to keep working. So on her way back from work, she came across a RIDE program. For non-Canadians, it's a drunk driving prevention program where they stand in the middle of the street and stop every car to ask if you've been drinking. Very successful and doesn't really slow traffic. Usually they don't get to license and registration, they just check if you slur your words, etc. She freaked out and turned around. Obviously, they pursued her and she got her license taken away and her car impounded. Not worth the extra shift. Stupidest thing was that she told us. She will never ever not get jokes about it. So, when we were 16, my friend was driving alone at night on his moped. It's fairly common in Norway to drive a moped with illegal modifications to the engine. They're really slow and you can't drive a car until you're 18 here, so when the blue lights flashed behind him, he figured F it and tried to outrun them. He makes a U-turn and heads for our old middle school, then reaches back to flip the license plate up. He makes it through the school and loses them as the car can't chase him through a narrow path he took. However, the license plate fell off when he tried to flip it, and they just drive to his house later the same night. Dude got a ticket and 2-month suspension on his license. Funny thing is, they weren't even trying to pull him over. They were just on their way to something else, but the random U-turn made them suspicious. Once the cops pulled me over as I was riding home from a friend on my bicycle. I had a bag of old 1.44 meg floppy drives. Suddenly, out of nowhere, 2 cop cars corner me and I almost slam into one of them. Out comes lots of cops and one of them goes, "Hey you, what are you carrying in your bag over there?" With adrenaline rushing through my system, my idiotic brain goes, "Drugs! Lots of effing drugs!" And one of the cops pulls his gun out of the holster but doesn't aim it at me. I nearly S myself, but I smiled weakly and went, "No, just kidding, they're just floppy disks," and I opened a packet and showed them the disks. Now, I was stupid to do this even because they were all filled with copied games and whatnot, and this was during the don't copy that floppy age. My god, such stupidity. Anyway, they let me off with a warning not to be a snarky bee. I didn't listen, so the joke's on them. Not a lawyer or a policewoman, but 15 in a park with some friends after our GCSEs, British. Obviously, drinking age is 18, but we've got some vodka in us. We're just a group of stupid 15-year-olds who have never really been drunk before and aren't going to get drunk that day, as it turns out anyway. We've been there for about 15-20 minutes when a girl opposite me notices some coppers walking towards off. We're worried, and one of us quickly goes over to a bush with a carrier bag full of bottles. Full bottles, mostly, and puts it in there to hide it. The coppers come up and ask what we're doing. Oh, just hanging out, we say, and they ask us what we just put in the bushes. There's a brief conversation where it comes out that we had alcohol. The coppers are obviously just a bit weary and not in the mood to deal with kids in the park who aren't even causing a disturbance, so seem to be about to leave us be. They ask for our names and we go around the circle until they come to me and I give my full name. I have 3 middle names, all with several syllables in them. The coppers look at me and I realize that I wasn't meant to give the entirety of it. It's a bit awkward and they ask me to repeat it. I now don't know what to do. Do I just give my first and last name or the whole thing? What do you want me to repeat? So I repeat my full name again. The policeman looks at me and says, "Did you just give me your full name again?" I nod. He looks at me and is clearly unsure of how to deal with this idiot. He then asks something along the lines of, "What are you planning on doing with your life?" To which I answer, "I want to live in a caravan and smoke weed all day and never work." Because I was slightly tipsy, having never drunk before, and being a really innocent and sheltered 15-year-old in some ways, I thought it would be funny. I really have no idea what I was thinking. I'm having to dredge up the memory. The entire circle is silent. The policeman is staring at me and I'm inwardly going F, having realized what I've done. There's a standoff for about 10 seconds until the policeman says, "This is such a waste of time," puts away his notepad and F's off. I'm late to the thread, but this story is too epic not to tell. A friend of my sister's had already been ticketed twice by her college police for underage drinking. Her parents told her if she got ticketed again, they'd pull her out of school. So when the cops pulled her and her friends over one Friday night, she got the bright idea to flee. The cops caught her and cuffed her, so she ran again, this time managing to hide in the bushes and wriggle her way out of the cuffs. She stumbles home. The next day, the cops knock on her dorm room door. They ask for her by name, so she pretends to be her roommate. The cops give her a business card and tell her it's very important she contact them ASAP. She flees her dorm room and spends the next couple days hiding in friends' dorm rooms, including my sister's, for a few hours. She gets phone calls from friends of hers. Apparently, the police are peed and canvassing the campus for her. They found her photo at her sorority house, so they know she lied to them. One of her sorority sisters finally convinces her to turn herself in. She gets charged with a long list of crimes, including several felony charges. Her parents decided to leave her in jail for the weekend instead of paying her bail. Once she gets out, she spends several hours combing the bushes where she'd hidden to find the handcuffs, since one of the charges was theft of police property. Why is this story relevant to this thread? Because the cop that caught her and her friends that night forgot his breathalyzer and let the entire group off with a lecture. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, the likes, and the comments. See you in the next video.